and welcome to Wednesday session. We hope you are enjoying Beach Mission so far from wherever you are. Today in our Seahorses session we're going to be thinking about how Jesus is the light of the world, and Sarah will be sharing her thought on that with us later. Before that, Charlotte is going to lead us in today's fun activity.
Hi Seahorses! So for today's theme we are looking at how Jesus is the light of the world. And when I was thinking of my activity for today, I thought, how can we as just normal people spread a bit of joy and light to other people's lives? And even though it's only in a small way and not the great distance like Jesus did, but what can we do to try and cheer people up a bit, especially if they've been having a hard time recently with lockdown and not being able to see their family and friends and things. So something I've been doing over the last few months is sending letters and cards and things to my friends and family to try and cheer them up. So if you'd like to do something like this, then we'd love to see your pictures of them, so I'll tell you how to send them in a bit. But here's some of mine if you'd like a bit of inspiration. There's also so many other ways to spread joy without having to do a bit of crafting, as I know seahorses aren't the biggest fans of crafts. So there's also things like playing a game with your brothers and sisters who you haven't spent a lot of time with recently because they've been getting on your nerves, or there's things like helping your parents cook tea, or doing a job for them that you wouldn't normally do, as well as maybe having like a FaceTime call with someone you haven't been able to see recently. There's so much scope of what you can do, but what we would like is if you could send them to our Facebook page, our Instagram or our email, and then we can see how you've been spreading some joy today and bringing some light into other people's lives.
So today's reading is from John chapter 9, which you can find in the New Testament between the books of Luke and Acts. I'm going to read from the NIV translation, so it might be a little bit different than the Bible you've got in front of you. John 9 says, "As Jesus went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, 'Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, so that he was born blind?' 'Neither this man nor his parents sinned,' said Jesus. 'But this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. As long as it is day, we must do the work of he who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world.' Having said this, he spat on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. 'Go,' he told him, 'wash in the pool of Siloam,' which means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbours and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, 'Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg?' Some claimed that he was, but others said, 'No, he only looks like him.' But he himself insisted, 'I am the man.' 'How then were your eyes open?' they demanded. He replied, 'The man they call Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and washed. So I went, I washed, and then I could see.' 'Where is this man?' they asked him. 'I don't know,' he said. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now, the day on which Jesus had made the mud and opened the man's eyes was a Sabbath. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. 'He put mud on my eyes,' the man replied. 'I washed, and now I can see.' Some of the Pharisees said, 'This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath.' But others asked, 'How can a sinner do such miraculous signs?' So they were divided. Finally they turned again to the blind man. 'What have you to say about him? It was your eyes he opened.' The man replied, 'He is a prophet.'"
So, in this passage we hear Jesus say, "I am the light of the world." And most of us have probably heard this before, especially if we've been to a Christingle service or something. But if we stop and think about what it means, what comes to mind? So my first thought was that light sustains us, On Earth, the sun is the original source for all the energy. Everything in the food we eat, everything like that, comes from the sun. Without it, Earth would be a lifeless rock. And light, rather obviously, I guess, also reveals things to us so that we can see them. And occasionally we encounter light in a particularly intense way, like in a bright light or a candle, where we see it for what it is. Jesus does all these things. He sustains us both by his very being, because Jesus is God, and God gives rise to existence itself. Without him, the universe just wouldn't exist. But he also sustains us in a more personal way, like through prayer. Jesus also reveals things to us, and this could be in really dramatic ways, but equally powerful is how he might reveal that a particular friend is looking upset and no one has noticed. When Jesus does something really dramatic, that's like when we see him more like a bright light or a candle, where we can see his light really clearly. This is what happened with the blind man in the story. A miraculous healing shouts out to the world how amazing Jesus is. But some of the Pharisees still didn't recognize Jesus as light of the world. They just saw him as a troublemaking liar. I think it's helpful for us to think about this, as often when I was younger, I used to think, oh, well, if Jesus did miracles in my life like he did in the Bible, then obviously I'd believe in him. But the Pharisees show us that it's not that simple. Even when Jesus was right in front of them, performing miracles, they didn't recognize him as light of the world, Son of God. Unlike the blind man, they could see physically perfectly well, but they were completely blind to who Jesus really was. So, what do we do? Well, I think we should be like the blind man, and like so many other people in the Bible. We should go to Jesus and ask him to help us see. We could tell him that maybe we don't know everything that's going on, and that we want him to open our eyes so that we can see him wherever he's present. And that might mean that we feel him sustaining us more, or we recognise the beauty in the world more often, or that we can see where a friend needs help more easily. Whatever it might be, it's our willingness to let Jesus open our eyes to see him as light of the world that will allow it to happen.
Hello Seahorses, so today's prayer point, time of reflection, is going to focus on rainbow prayers where each colour is going to represent a different point. So the first one is the colour red. It's the praise point, so it's just a moment to tell God something you like about them. Yellow is gratitude, so something you're personally thankful for. Pink, I'm sorry. Green for the environment or the city, or just something that's outside your immediate home. Purple is where you can pray for your family. Orange for your friends. And blue for God's help and hope for the future. So once again, red is for praise, yellow is gratitude, pink I'm sorry, green the environment, purple for family, orange for friends, and blue for God's help. So we can just take a minute now and pray together. So Father God, thank you for being all-knowing and attentive. I appreciate these moments of calm in a very stressful time. I'm sorry for when I procrastinate and I put off things that ought to be done. And I pray for my city. May the healing continue and that we're all patient with the lockdown and new restrictions. I pray for my family outside of the city, especially my brother and my nephew, who I haven't seen in ages. And thank you for my friends who are always a WhatsApp away. And I pray for peace of mind for the future. Amen. So if there's anything you'd like us to pray for, just leave it in the comments below. Or if not, you can tell us in person in Zoom on Thursday.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's Seahorses session. Remember that there's no pre-recorded session coming out tomorrow because we're meeting together live on Zoom instead, and we're so looking forward to that. But there will be our final Seahorses session of Beach Mission 2020 on Friday, and I hope it's one that you won't want to miss. So we'll see you live on Zoom tomorrow and back here on Friday.